Hi, and welcome to the Unhinged History Podcast, the podcast where two compulsive nut jobs are going to mainline history. It's what we do. We cannot be stopped. Our support network have tried. And we join forces every week to tell each other the stories we've basically just learned. I'm host one, I'm Theresa, and that is host two.
I'm Angie.
Welcome. Um, Angie, today I get to go first. I do have kind of a banger for you. It's going to be one that maybe you've heard. I've definitely alluded to this human before.
Oh, I'm so excited. Let's go.
Okay. My sources, out.com, Powered to the People, exploring Martha P. Johnson's queer liberation. New York Times, overlooked obituaries, Martha P. Johnson, by Sewell Chan. Women and the American Story, Martha P. Johnson. I don't know if you know who we're going to be talking about with those sources in mind.
Marsha P. Johnson.
Yeah, ding, ding, ding. Winner, winner, chicken
I
dinner.
was, I was guessing. I was guessing. There wasn't a lot to go on.
Right. I mean, look, you're good
You
at
know.
making meaning, so well done. Your
Thank you.
logic
I got the
teacher would be
inference
proud.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm going to start us off. It's October 24th, 1945. We're right towards the very end of World War II. Martha P. Johnson, she's born Malcolm Michaels Jr., and she's born in Elizabeth, New Jersey. She's the fifth of seven children in a very working class family.
Okay.
She's assigned male at birth, and she's known to say when she would adopt the name Martha P. Johnson that the P stands for pay it no mind, which basically becomes her personal motto.
Love it. Okay.
Now, her father, Malcolm Michael Sr., he worked at the assembly line at the General Motors factory in Linden, and her mother was a housekeeper.
Okay.
So, very blue collar origins. When she's about five, she starts wearing dresses and feels a lot of pressure to stop because of other children's aggression towards her.
This is the 40s. Well, I guess we're 1950 now, but okay.
Yeah. In an interview, she would say toward the end of her life that she was 13 when she was sexually assaulted by a boy,
Okay.
which is not ideal.
No.
And today, and this is where I have a lot of wiggle words, right? Because today, and this is where I get to use a lot of wiggle words, historians and former friends of Marsha, they describe her as a trans woman or trans woman. During
Wait, is
her
it Marsha or Martha?
Marsha,
Oh, okay. I was hearing you wrong the entire time, and I'm
I'm going
like,
to listen to the playback
Martha.
and go, goodness grief, did I do any vocal warm-ups before this? Could I have gotten another cup of coffee? Could I at least pretend to try?
I mean, live your truth.
Now, during her lifetime, the term transgender isn't commonly used. There
Right.
is a
Okay.
ton of words that they're exploring throughout the coming decades. Nothing truly sticks. I'm assuming in 10 years from now we're going to listen to this episode and go, "Ooh, we don't use transgender anymore." Like, you know what I mean? Like this is just a
Yeah.
moving target, and so I'm using language that we use currently that didn't exist. And I know when I listen to the Stonewall episode, you're going to hear me use a ton of wiggle words and say, "Yeah, we're using words. These, yeah,
They're words.
yeah,
Words are words.
uh-huh. Language evolves." So she, during her life, would describe herself as a gay person, a transvestite, and a drag queen. She would also use
Okay.
she, her pronouns.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you to her for clarifying the she, her pronouns.
And not
Appreciate
being like
that.
Lieutenant Nunn and just bouncing back and forth and being like, it's Tuesday, so we're going he, him.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
okay, here's the thing. My caveat here is if that's how you want to live your life, swapping between things, cool. I'm not stopping you. But for people later trying to tell the story, it's like, I don't know what the
Well,
right thing, like what would they
I'm
have
going to get yelled
liked?
at in the comments. Everyone is going to be angry, and everyone's going to be right to be angry, and no one is going to be right to be angry.
Right, and no one's gonna actually know what that person would have felt. So here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Later on, she begins attending the Mount Timon African Methodist Episcopal Church as a child, and she would end up practicing Christianity throughout her lifetime. She would later get drawn into Catholicism, and she would visit houses of worship very frequently.
Okay.
And I think it's very easy to ignore, side eye, brush aside this lens of faith.
This is gonna sound weird, but not in our family.
I'm grateful that that's your lived experience. I
I
tend to
don't
see
think
a
it's
lot of
many
ostracism.
people's lived experiences.
Right. And so
So
yeah,
for us, it's a common conversation.
right. But that said, I think if we have to speak the stories we want to see more in the world. And I think we
Hmm.
also have to acknowledge the complex fullness of the multifacets of a human. And that
Hmm.
includes their faith, even if members of same faith would exclude them if possible.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Perfect. She would end up graduating Thomas A. Edison High School in Elizabeth, New Jersey in 1963. And then our girl promptly moves to New York City. She
As you
would,
do.
yeah, basically, she said she had a bag of clothes and $15 to her name.
Oh my God. Me too. Same girl.
I mean, didn't do it to New York City, but I upped and moved countries with, almost the equivalent.
Yeah, I'm thinking I got like $15. I can maybe make it to Oakdale.
Yeah. With gas prices in this economy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, so unsurprisingly, right? It's not easy for her to live outside gender norms and the standard norms of the sexual mainstream, either today or in the early 60s. But this is what she's doing. Now, New York State had roughly around in 1950 had downgraded the act of sodomy, which used to be a felony. Now it's a misdemeanor. Prosecution of gay people and the criminalization of their activities is still very common. Like we touched on this in the Stonewall episode. There's same-sex dancing, absolutely verboten. And the state liquor authority had banned bars from serving gay people alcoholic beverages, which is why the mob was catering to the crowd at Stonewall to begin with.
Right.
People could be charged sexual deviancy crimes just for cross-dressing, and police enforcement was arbitrary.
Right.
And I mean, it was to the point where you probably know this because I know you are a fashion nut job. Police would look at what side of the shirt your buttons were on because
Hmm.
women's buttons are on the opposite side as men's. And if your buttons did not align with the assigned gender, you were arrested.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And you know what's funny is I was over here thinking like, especially for like the quote unquote drag queens,
Yeah.
s some of them are so magnificent that it would be like, are you sure? Like, no, that's definitely a woman. Definitely. Not,
Yeah.
but yeah.
That woman's cut crease is better than anything I've ever done.
Yeah, 100%. So why are you arresting her?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Hmm. Now, okay, back to Johnson. She arrives in New York and she's alternating between going by her given name and which is Malcolm, and then this persona that she starts to create, which is Black Marsha.
As opposed to just regular Marsha.
I'm not sure why she ascribed the modifier
Okay.
black. I mean,
You know
I
what?
know she is a black woman, but look, I
Do
wasn't
you?
there. I wasn't having a margarita with her. I wasn't asking the origin story.
Fair.
And just pretty much to make ends meet, she's engaging in prostitution and she's arrested often. She's quoted in saying that she stopped counting after the 100th time and said that once in the late 70s, she was even shot.
Wow.
Like the clientele that she is serving may not be so pleased to see that she was assigned male at birth.
To be a little bit shook.
Yeah. And so there
Hmm.
tends to be some issues with this. She's often found near seedy hotels near Times Square, including Dixie Hotel, which is now Hotel Carter on West 43rd Street for those playing in the city.
Okay. But not
Now,
you, Vermont.
yeah, no, Vermont doesn't listen. Just ignore them. Move on. If you are from Vermont and listening, chime in. We doubt you exist. I'm pretty sure
We,
that there is an IP block on that entire region. You guys are
yeah.
the Great Wall of China in the US for this podcast.
Hmm. Hmm.
Marsha would go on to spend basically her entire life without a permanent home. She slept often in hotel rooms, restaurants, and movie theaters.
Okay.
So, very transient lifestyle. Sometimes she would live with friends. She found work waiting tables, performing in drag shows, but basically would go on to make most of her money as a sex worker.
Okay.
Later, she would recall, quote, the ones that made the most money was the boys that could wear their own hair with just a little bit of makeup.
So, okay, we've grown our hair out.
Oh, yeah,
Okay. Well, that's so the ones that it's working for are the ones it's the natural hair, not wigs.
basically. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Now, living most of her life in New York City, she still seemed to maintain a close, if not fraught, relationship with her family back in New Jersey. And this is a quoting to Al Michaels, her nephew.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah, so here you go. And this is important because in the book that I quoted last week, the third edition that I have been going through, I didn't put it in my notes, but it's Transgender History, the third edition, a resource for today's struggle and tomorrow's by Susan Stryker. She's talking about how commonplace it is to be rejected by your family the moment you come out as trans.
It's wild because anyway, I'm not going to get into it, but you would
Right.
think that family is family, and I've loved you this long. Why would that be any different?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either way, she has a relationship with them. It sounds tenuous. Now, when he was 36, he was interviewed and he said that it was like a holiday whenever she came over, that kids flocked to her because she brought him treats, beads, candies, and flowers.
Hmm.
Now, here's where the other side of that coin is, because her mother would make her put on men's clothes when she entered the house, but ultimately she would end up parting with those clothes by the very next time she visited. He would also go on to say that she'd give you the shirt right off her back. You like it? Here, you have it. Like
Mm-hmm.
that just being her personality. Her grandmother may have never or may have disapproved, but it was always with this undercurrent of love that her nephew says. And when Johnson had one of her spells, like the time she was reported lost in Hoboken wearing only her underwear, her family always picked her up and brought her home or to the hospital.
Okay.
So,
So there's
yeah, I think it's one of it sounds like it's a relationship that's basically, I don't agree with the lifestyle you're living. We're going to argue about it, but are you getting enough vegetables? Have you had your vitamins? Can I get you something?
it does seem that way, yeah.
Yeah, it's not the perfect family life, but there seems to be this strong dynamic of love, even if there's a
Yeah.
lot of trying to control and guide.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a weird time too, just in the country also. So figuring out how to behave as the family is probably weird too.
And I think also because they are black, I'm sure there's also, this is me speaking out of turn. This is me speaking as a white woman who does not know the steps she's about to take. Let's hedge those bets. From what I understand, I'm assuming it's also your life as a black person is hard enough. You are signing up for extra trouble. We want to try to help you.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. As another white lady that,
Yeah, that we have no
yeah,
business speaking on this, and yet here we are.
yeah. But I mean, it makes sense.
I mean, I know there's times where I'm like, look, maybe I shouldn't do that because my life's hard enough. And here I'm like, all right, double down, hit the button
Doing
twice. You talked me
it.
into it. Here we go.
I talked myself into it. I didn't need help.
Yep. Now, despite how amazingly she lived her life and her full vivacity, she tends to treat every day like like a holiday. And then she's regarded in saying that like how she treated like actual holidays as incredibly special. Her nephew would say, quote, they'd walk from the train, Marsha and like 15 or 20 of her friends. Our house would be full of people dancing.
Okay, her family needs to get their full crap together because if 15 or 20 people showed up at my door to be dancing, it would be the best day of my life.
Yeah, I would be like, you know what? I'm going to DoorDash some ingredients for some snackies.
Something.
And
Mm-hmm.
you know what? You just keep the music going. We're
Oh,
running
you
out of
can
drink.
play. Great. Okay.
Fantastic.
Second
Knock it out,
pizza.
girl. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 100%.
everyone who basically ends up meeting Johnson remembers this aspect of her personality. They comment on how gregarious she is, her generous nature, and it always made you feel that you're at the coolest party in town,
Yeah. Okay.
which honestly, we need people like that in every friend group.
Mm-hmm.
She's a member of this avant drag performance troupe called the Hot Peaches, and she would tour with them around America and Europe, and they would perform comical songs and spoken word poetry.
That's awesome.
And then later, she would be photographed by Andy Warhol, who had painted her as part of his little ladies and gentlemen series of trans portraiture.
That's awesome. Okay.
And then one time, her nephew recalls that he was DJing in New York City. He pulls out an album from Earth, Wind, and Fire and discovers his aunt's image on the album artwork.
Oh wow. Okay.
Could you
Okay.
imagine? You're at work, you're doing something, you're in your mode, and all of a sudden, oh,
I know
that's
this
my
person.
aunt.
Yeah.
Everybody
Okay.
has seen this image.
That's pretty cool.
Now, we're going to fast forward when an event happens that thrusts her into spotlight. And this would be when she found herself near the Stonewall Inn in the early hours. It's June 28th, 1969. I almost cost us 100 years. That night, as I covered in the episode, as I covered when the episode I covered in Stonewall, which I'm going to put in the show notes so that we can just click right through, police raided a gay bar. And as the officers began to arrest people for violating the myriad of discriminatory laws, patrons of Stonewall would fight back. And this would be the whole kickoff of what is now Pride. Now, there's so many stories that conflict about how it started, but we know everyone agrees Marsha's on the front lines.
That's awesome.
One account says she started the uprising by throwing a shot glass into a mirror. Another says she climbed a lamppost and dropped a heavy purse onto a police car, shattering the first windshield. Young trans women were just extremely vocal. They are the ones who caused, not caused, they were there. They were leading this movement.
Fueling the fire.
Yeah, they were the kindling, and this just took off, right?
Yeah.
And this all happened because they had nothing left to lose.
This checks.
Their rage wasn't just about the police, it was about all of the oppression and all of the fear that they live with on any given day.
Right.
This amount of like angst and oppression is the powder keg. In Strasbourg, it kicked off the dancing plagues in 1518. Here, it kicked off a different kind of event.
It kicked off a kick line.
It did kick off a kick line. Now, according to Johnson, she would give an interview to writer Eric Marcus about that night. And so this is from the horse's mouth. She said, I was already in Uptown and didn't get downtown until about 2 o'clock. When I got downtown, the place is already on fire and there was a raid already. The riots had already started.
But wasn't she the one that started them?
So that's the conflicting sources, right? People say that she threw the first brick,
Yeah.
but
Okay. But
she's like, look, I got there at 2 a.m. Things were
okay.
happening and I threw my voice into the fray.
Okay.
Now, I need to, back up in a second and make sure that we say that that's riots plural because Stonewall riot implies singular, but this anti-police insurrection goes on for 6 days. And it's easy to forget that. It's like saying the battle and you assume, oh, 4 to 8 hours. We launched some shots, called it a day. Sun went down, we went home, toasted, went back at it.
Yeah.
But this is like, no, this was, you know, going for the full thing. Now, basically, as we think about the Stonewall riot, it's easy for us to say we want to say this was the first brick that was thrown, this was the inciting factor. But this causes us to really lose scope of what that whole event means. We focus so in on what started it versus what does that stand for. Because it's easy once we say that, oh, this is what caused Stonewall, and Stonewall was the event. we forget that there were other anti-LGBTQ cop riots that started in the 50s and went on through the 60s. We had Compton's cafeteria, which I covered last week. And then there's Cooper's Donuts riots in 1959 in Los Angeles, which eventually I may cover, I may not. For all I know, you're going to tell me that story immediately after this.
No, you're good.
Okay. But all of those ones, Cooper's Donuts, Compton Cafeteria, and Stonewall, they're community of trans women and poor hustlers that are on the forefront of that uprising. Basically, pride as we know it wouldn't exist without the trans people being sidelined.
This makes sense.
So while Johnson, may not have actually been the one to throw the first shot glass or brick or what have you, she was part of the major force creating this visible queer community that rose up that evening. And she's
Love
known
it.
for having this fearless presence that announces herself in Goodwill dresses and headpieces that she would cast off or that she crafted from flower district cast off. So she would go through and take all of these flowers that nobody else wanted and
Mm,
build flower crowns.
I'm imagining what she looks like, and she's stunning.
Well, let me hold that thought and get you an image because I got you pictures.
Thank you.
And if you're in the Patreon, you can see these images of her. And if you're not, then you'll have to wait for social media.
Okay, so honest to God, right now she looks like she's going to the Kentucky Derby, minus the hat. She's got this large ostrich feather in her hair. Her hair is in an updo and it is phenomenal. And there's flowers all over the updo. She have like flower earrings.
I believe so. They're either like flower earrings or she's got a flower pinned to her hair so low it looks like an earring.
Yeah, okay. Big 70s glasses on, a pearl necklace, a little heart necklace, which is really cute. It looks like, if I had to guess, she's wearing like a crushed velvet top, but I'm not
Yeah,
a
that's what it looks
hundred
like to
percent.
me. It's got
Yeah,
some
some
texture.
texture to it. Yeah. Oh my gosh, she's amazing. She's got gloves on. Oh my, I love her. Okay.
And then this, because there's a specific photo I couldn't find in Wiki Commons, but this is a bust
Ugh.
of her. But you can see the flower crown that somebody has made for her to really exemplify her use of these cast off flowers.
I love that so much. It is like a bronze bust and there's a lot of color around her. Like people are still placing flower petals, but as Teresa says, someone has made a new flower crown. It's actually beautiful. Like that's art in my opinion. That's what
Yeah.
art should look like.
And then here's a picture from a protest or from a Pride March in Los Angeles. And this is the image I wanted to find of her that's used on this poster.
It's in color. She's got an off-the-shoulder pink. This has got to be taken in the 80s. Off-the-shoulder pink outfit and her whole flower crown is huge and just beaming smile from ear to ear.
About to say,
Oh my
the flower crown
goodness.
is huge, but it's barely bigger than her smile.
Barely. Like and those lips, I wish I could do my lips like that. Like them is red and they are amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen so I can go back to telling you my story without you reading it ahead of me.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're good. Now, Johnson, as she lived her life, she's very loud, proud, and off key, right? That is just who she is. And I feel like those images can kind of help you get this visual image of who she would be in
Would have
life.
never guessed.
Right. So, being at Stonewall, this uprising is the awakening for what we know as, the LGBTQ activists, right? And soon she's attending rallies, sit-ins, meetings. They had just formed the Gay Liberation Front, and she's there. And she's excited about the work she's doing, but she's incredibly frustrated because white gay men and lesbians are really dominating the conversation.
Okay.
We're good at it. This is something we're
Mm-hmm.
all hopefully trying to unpack so we can get less good at it tomorrow.
Or better at sharing, one of the two.
Right. Now she's asking people and really pushing them to try to understand where do transgender people fit in? Because trans people, they're more likely to be homeless, they're more likely to be targeted by the police, and the movement and what they're trying to do doesn't really appreciate the extent in which her group needs help.
Right. Okay.
And we, like, as we think back about her, it's easy for us to say she was a legend. She did all of these incredible things. But all this legend and mythos that we've built around her, that's not helping her pay bills. Her
Right. That's
name
not putting dinner on
recognition,
the table.
yeah, it's not paying the mortgage. So she's still living on and off the streets, and she's still relying on charity and sex work to survive.
I hate that for her.
And for more than a decade, she would end up staying in the apartment of New Jersey gay activist Rick Wicker, or Randy Wicker, renamed him. And they would become, or he would become her closest friend.
Okay.
Now,
So
she's,
she has 10 years of consistency at least.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But in that consistency, did she abscond for a week because of things not being comfortable? I don't know, right? Like,
Right, yeah.
so even that consistency could have been inconsistent. Now, when you read about her, you tend to see her life tightly entwined with another person of mythic proportions, Sylvia Rivera.
Okay.
And according to Rivera, they met on the streets, and I get conflicting reports of whether Rivera was 11 or 12.
Wow, okay.
So Sylvia's 11 or 12, and Johnson is 17 or 18. So they're both young.
Right.
Now, Sylvia is this Puerto Rican trans woman who also comes to New York, and they become instant friends. Marsha would teach Sylvia how to apply her makeup, live on the street, and look out for trouble. She would also encourage Sylvia to love herself and her identity.
Wow, okay.
So, a girl's girl.
God love a girl's girl.
Now, Marsha, surprising probably not you at all, enjoyed expressing herself through her appearance. She builds these lavish outfits, and these are pretty much a combination of thrift store finds, grift from friends, gifts from friends, not grifts, and items that she finds on the street.
I love it.
I
Like,
mean,
look, if
this
she
is,
was looking glamorous in every one of those pictures,
yeah,
so yeah,
she's figuring it out. And then, as I've shown you from the images, she's creating these elaborate crowns of flowers.
I love that.
Yeah, she is making the whimsy, be finding the beauty in everyday life. Now, together, Sylvia and Marcia, they're conceptualizing this idea that trans people are a marginalized community and are separate but related to this larger queer crowd. That
Okay,
trans
yeah, that
people,
makes sense.
they've got their own needs, and these are often neglected or sacrificed as they're putting their bodies in line as foot soldiers in this gay revolution.
Right, okay.
And I should say that it's around these times that we're seeing landmark cases about protecting us from sexual discrimination and things like that. But this is often not extended to trans.
Right, when you say us, you're referring to women, right? And
Yeah.
this is not extending to
Hmm.
yeah, right. That well, that
So,
makes sense, right?
right.
Because yeah,
So this is kind of the full thing that they're experiencing,
right,
where you're getting the DSM is dropping gay as a condition or illness, but they're adding in what would be people who are trans that are having gender identity disorder.
right, okay,
And then you think, okay, well, it sucks to be labeled with a disorder, but at least I have a disorder, and now I can hopefully get medical treatment because it's a diagnosable disorder. But then insurance companies are going, I mean, no.
oh, so they're insurance companies. Yeah, okay,
Yeah. So there's tons of layers of issue and complexity here, right? And this is part of what they're batting their skulls up the walls against. Now, shortly after Stonewall, Johnson and Rivera, they would go on to find the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries, acronym STAR,
Thanks.
and they established the Star House, which is this short-lived, unfunded communal space for trans women living on the streets.
I'm sad that it was short-lived.
I mean, and I think I brought it up during Stonewall. I didn't check my notes, but they were actively engaged in sex work to keep that house going.
Wow. Okay.
Like they couldn't afford to feed everybody there, but they could keep the roof and the lights on. Now, Star had this radical platform, and it didn't seem out of place when you think of today's movement for Black Lives Matters. It included free gender expression and end to prison injustice and homelessness, and the creation of this inclusive community that rejected these binding definitions of gender and identity.
Cool.
So it was this very holistic, we see the whole human, we want you to be you, whatever that means. Do you kind of not feel that you're either? Do you feel that you're one or the other? Like, let's help you unpack this.
Yeah.
Now, 1970s, this is a time where Johnson is, more visible, more known. She's tall, slender. She has this incredible knack for commanding attention. Her outfits are described as red plastic high heels, slippers and stockings, shimmering robes and dresses, costume jewelry, bright wigs, plastic flowers, and sometimes even artificial fruit in her hair.
Oh, I want her to be my auntie.
I mean, truly, it's like I made the tea. I found you this assortment of
Hey,
incredible things. I can't wait to see what you do with them. This feels like RuPaul's Drag Race.
kinda, yeah. Like the precursor to it.
Now, Rivera and Johnson, thinking of them as a combined unit, they're you hear one, you see the other, right? Like they are this joined at the
Right.
hip kind of deal. Sylvia Rivera is often credited with the political thinking of the pair, while Johnson is kind of presented as her sassy black sidekick. But honestly, and here's the reality, it's pretty complicated because historians and people who've really done a lot of research know that Marsha has her own political ideations and how she does things. In the same interview that Marsha calls out the transphobia of gay men and mentioned her alliance with lesbians, she's also advocating for the queer movement that is centered on anti-prison and anti-homelessness activism because it's so
Okay.
easy to take her ilk and just hide them in a jail.
Right.
And that's, 2 years before Sylvia Rivera is making this, what's now an infamous speech in Pride in 1973. And this is where she gets up and she's like, y'all didn't even want me to be here, but all of you white cisgender men who are gay, you suck. You're a part of the problem. And she's not wrong. It's not something you want to see it like we're here, we're out, we're proud. So it's like a whoo, she has that speech kind of deal.
Right.
Now, the historian Winter, he would say things like Martha survived by using this classic trickster mode, that she was this archetype of this queer black trickster. And he says that she allowed people to think she was dizzy, and she was a little dizzy to ensure her survival. Showing anger for a black person in America is the quickest way to get censored, ignored, punished, or killed. And the one exception to that rule is the sassy black friend who can get a little angry as long as it's funny in a you go girl kind of way. In that case, anger can be rewarded.
So she has figured out the system. Love that.
And that makes me frustrated,
Mm-hmm. Fair.
And that, yeah, I like being able to, kind of get loud. And then it's just like, well, she's just an angry blue-haired woman from Portland. What could you expect? But I'm given that leeway. I'm given that privilege.
But your nose isn't even pierced.
I'm beginning to think that I must get at least a falsie just to help other people feel better about their lives.
I mean, honestly, would you?
My weekend just got more packed, but we'll see what I can do. So, despite Marsha figuring out how to be big and have this big personality and get her point across without being shut down, surprisingly, her life's not easy, right? She starts to experience around this time a series of breakdowns in the 70s that would get her in and out of mental institutions.
Okay.
And she's known for saying, quote, I may be crazy, but that don't make me wrong.
Also true.
And she's still known for this warmth and charisma, but she could get into physical scraps and be pretty frightening to other humans.
Oh, I'm not even a little bit surprised.
Uh-huh. And this makes me go, oh, I hope we would have been friends. I hope she would have wanted to hang out because I want to hang out with her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then it's around this time that she would just start to wander and start off talking about one thing and then just end up miles away. And some people, like our author Martin Duberman in Stonewall, wrote that some people would say that drugs had ruined her mind and that she was a permanent space cadet,
Mm.
but that when she was organizing Star, she concentrated wonderfully.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe she had a touch of the autism and the ADHD. Who knows?
Could be. Could be the thing.
Now, 1980, this is a pivotal year for her because she's invited to ride in the lead car at New York's annual Gay Pride Parade. She'd begun living with her friend Randy Wicker in New Jersey, and she cared for Wicker's lover, David Combs, before he died of AIDS in 1990.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
heavy work
She has
there.
seen it all.
Yeah. And going back to an earlier theme I mentioned before, grieving for friends, she could sometimes be found prostrate in before the statue of the Virgin Mary at the Catholic community of St. Peter's and Paul in Hoboken. So praying
Okay.
her heart out. And she's also, surprising no one, an AIDS activist leading protests and meetings at ACT UP, which is an AIDS advocacy organization.
That's awesome.
In June 1926, nope, in June 26, 1992, in an interview, she would say that she'd been HIV positive for 2 years
Oh, wow. Okay.
and then would go on to say, they call me a legend in my own time because there were so many queens gone that I'm one of the few queens from the 70s and 80s.
Wow. That's crazy.
And then here's the kicker because and I'm wrapping up here, but it's several days later she's seen for the last time. Her body is fished from the Hudson River on the afternoon of July 6th, 1992.
Do we know what happened?
Next line, although the NYPD officially ruled it a suicide, many of those closest to her believe it was either an accident or murder. And according to the New York City Anti-Violence Project, at the time, 1992 was the worst year on record for anti-LGBT violence.
Okay.
Later in 92, authorities reclassified the cause to drowning from an undetermined cause. And then in 2012, they agreed to take a fresh look at the case, which officially remains open.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And 2 months after her death, Hattie Mae Cohen's and Brian Mock are burned to death by white supremacists in their apartment in Salem, Oregon. 2 months later, Petty Officer Third Class Alan Schindler is beaten to death by a shipmate with a public or in a public toilet in Japan. His body was so brutalized that the pathologist who performed the autopsy compared his injuries, often seen after a high-speed car crash.
Wow. Imagine if people could just live their own lives.
Yeah, yeah. If you didn't care about somebody else like that to that extent, because it doesn't matter to you.
Yeah, it'll forever boggle my brain. Honest to goodness.
Yeah. But either way, I'm going to end on this note. Martha P. Johnson, she fought, maybe even died, for gay liberation. Although we still witness and experience violence and discrimination today, we live in America that is vastly safer for gays and lesbians because of the life she lived. And while that's all that's true, the very movement that idolizes her does so little for Black trans women like her.
That's crazy. Wow.
But that's her story.
I'm just the flower crowns. That's all. Just wow. That makes me sad and it gives me all the emotions in one go. So thanks.
I'm nothing if not consistent.
You know, we gotta be consistent. Gotta appreciate that. Holy beans. Do we have time for my story?
I think so. I mean, this is going to be a longer episode, but I think I had just like a long episode on my or a long story on my own, but not long enough for a single.
Okay, let's see. Well, then. Yeah, I think I could do it. I think I could do it. Do you remember? I'm just gonna switch gears. Do you remember when I said I couldn't do Casanova because he was simply too problematic for our time?
Yes. Did we
It
finally
occurred to
become
me.
problematic enough in our timeline that it felt kindred?
No, but it occurred to me recently that that is also a definition of unhinged. So, I'm going to tell you the story of Lord Byron.
Oh my goodness. Hey, you know how I said Casanova was unhinged? Well, I figured out that Lord Byron is Lord Byron, and who among us, right? Here, anyhow.
Who among us, in fact? So, my sources are the BBC, a History Lord Byron, a historic UK article by Ellen Caslow, Lord Byron, his life, writing, affairs, and death. That's a history extra. Public, written by Lauren Good in April of 24. The Poetry Foundation has a wonderful write-up for him. The History Hit podcast with Dan Snow has a special guest, Dr. Kate Lister.
Oh, yeah, from TikTok.
hmm We love her. Uh, and then there is a organization. It's called varsity.org. And this article was called Lord Byron's Freshers Week. It was solely about his time at Trinity. Um, so I was curious about his politics there. So that's what I got here. Okay, so then we have an article titled "Byron was one of the few prominent defenders of the Luddites" by Kate Eshnar of February 2017. That was a Smithsonian article.
Okay,
And a
first off,
shadow of Mag.
Byron and Luddites in the same sentence is sending me, but carry on.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a whole thing. It's one of the four things he did right in his lifetime.
I like that we can count them on one hand.
Yeah, I did. I was like, you know what? We're just there's so small amount. Let's just see how many there is. Um, and then there is, you know what? I'm actually not going to tell you this source because I don't want to ruin the last thing he did right in his life.
Because I'm obviously paying attention, so keep that under
Yeah.
wraps.
Yeah, you can't tell, you can't know. Okay, so if I said the words mad, bad, and dangerous to know to describe someone, who do you think I would be talking about? Well, obviously the answer is Lord Byron, but who would you have thought?
I mean, honestly, there's several humans that have been like that, but yeah, he was kind of the bad boy of rock and roll of his time.
If for sure. So that is what one lady, Caroline Lamb, described him as. So George Gordon Noel Byron, which P.S. I kind of hate knowing his whole names. I don't know why it bugs me, but I'm like, bro, he's just Lord Byron. Like,
I mean, that's like calling Ted Bundy Theodore. It's like that's true, but that's not the common.
yeah, nobody's calling him that. Nobody's calling him that. So he is born January 22nd, 1788 in London with a clubbed foot. I did not know that. I I don't know how I've gone this far into my life without knowing that he had club foot, but he did.
I feel like that humanizes him a bit and kind of gives him a reason to be angsty.
Actually, yeah. Okay, and then I'm gonna tell you about his childhood, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, damn." Okay, so he is the son of a man called Captain John Mad Jack Byron, who was a widower and came with a daughter. More on him in just a moment. His mother. Byron's mother, was an impoverished Scottish heiress called Catherine Byron.
Harris or
She,
Eris? I know it has an H.
it's heiress, however, I bit my tongue the other night, so it is
Oh,
very swollen and it's hard to speak.
I'm sorry to call that out then.
No,
My
it's okay
apologies.
because you're gonna probably hear a lot of words like that.
Oh,
Um, so his mother, she's Scottish. She does have a title. She does have like all of the things of proper society. She's just pretty broke. And according to Historic UK, she is also a schizophrenic.
oh,
So
bummer.
yeah, she is just as likely to make fun of his clubbed foot as she is to try to call the doctors to get it corrected. She would go from this extreme tenderness to this very fiery temper at any given time. And that alone sort of, I think, paints a picture of his childhood, but wait, there's more. Because he also has this Presbyterian nurse who is very abusive, but instills in him this enduring love for the Bible as well as this deep fascination with Calvinist doctrine, particularly the ideas of innate evil and predestined salvation. So,
Okay.
Guys is just, he is getting it from all angles, and there's not a, in my opinion, there's not a single decent adult in his life. But back to dad, because like I said, there is not a single decent adult in his life. John, his father, had married Byron's mother for her title, and he tried to live with her for a while, but basically what little money she did have, he squanders.
Okay.
And to no one's surprise. And he leaves to go live with his sister in France. At this point, like Byron is born, and his mother and him and the nurse are basically like living in shops, like the housing above shops. So they are not having a grand,
Yeah.
right? Things aren't great, and they're pretty much destitute. No grand estates, no real funds to speak of, living in the houses above the shops. Dad lives well above his means while in France with his sister. He's going to the theater, he's seen the courtesans, and he dies when Byron is only 3.
Okay. Uh,
So, but it doesn't matter because Byron never knew him. Dad was never in his picture. Later, Byron would say that he slit his own throat, but according to Dad's sisters, he was losing weight and coughing up blood. So tuberculosis,
and maybe he was coughing up blood and then what, this is a miserable way to go. I'm just going to speed up the process.
possibly. It was either tuberculosis or some other consumptive illness. That is according to the sisters. What I think is interesting is that I wouldn't put what you just said past because everybody in, especially on his dad's side of the family, has some sort of um instability.
So mom is
So
schizophrenic, but dad's family is unstable,
super unstable.
just undiagnosed. Lovely. Carry on.
Yeah. Um, the Poetry Foundation has this to say regarding Lord Byron's wonderful father. Quote, the profligate captain squandered his wife's inheritance, was absent for the birth of his only son, and eventually decamped for France as an exile from English creditors, where he died in 1791 at 36. And I included that because I freaking love the word decamped. It has this delightful definition: depart suddenly or secretly, especially to relocate one's business or household in another area. Like abscond, run off, flee, bolt. And I'm like, this man is a D-bag.
Yeah, yeah. He's
But
a
give it
trash
some
dad.
whimsy. Like,
A trash dad with whimsy.
yeah, honest to goodness. Okay, so when Byron is 10, his uncle dies, and it makes him the sixth Lord Byron. And like I said earlier, literally no good adults in this story. His uncle is known for all sorts of sordid things. Most are unlikely true, but the fifth Lord Byron did nothing to help his image, and he did no favors for himself. So whether the rumors are true or not doesn't really matter because he sure made them look true, you know?
Okay.
So he's 10. He inherits the title and Newston Abbey. And did you know what I learned? And I cannot believe I'm 42 years old having just learned this. that house that he inherited was prior a Augustinian priory.
You mean
But
that's how
during
it
the
got the word Abbey attached to it?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, and during the dissolution of the monasteries, these homes just became private homes. And I'm like, wait a minute, how did I not know that?
That makes me wish I had an indescribable amount of wealth and was alive during that time because
Right?
renovated churches as homes, my goodness,
Dude,
fascinating.
I was like, how did I not make this connection before? What the heck? Okay, moving on. From here, Byron receives his education at Harrow School and Trinity College, Cambridge. Harrow, excuse me, it's Harrow, is where he started dabbling in his first real love affairs with both genders. By 1803, he is madly in love with a girl called Mary Chaworth, and she did not feel the same, which is great because she's his cousin.
Yeah, I mean, you should reach a little further away than the family picnic.
You would hope, right? But this unrequited love gives us some of his first bits of poetry, that are considered like great poetry, I guess. Hills of Annesley and The Adieu. When he goes to Trinity, he discovers debt and politics.
Okay.
Yeah, because, he's Lord Byron spends his life either very wealthy or very broke. Like, doesn't seem to be any in between, and he's always fluctuating.
He's like, look, I inherited a certain penchant for doing things. Meet my mom, dad, and uncle. Carry on.
Hmm. Pretty much. So here at Trinity is where he is going to meet a young man called John Cam Hobhouse, who definitely influences his ideology and his politics. In his case, they favor the Whigs. If you're curious, because I was, the Whigs at the time are, quote, a fractured opposition group supporting constitutional monarchy, restricted crown patronage, and the interest of merchants, while opposing the Tory government's war strategies and high spending. So they broadly favor political and religious freedom for Protestant nonconformists and limited reform on the el- oh my God,
The
electoral
electoral.
system.
I said the
I was gonna
electrical.
get there.
They wanted
Yeah,
the 220s.
they had to have the right stuff. So I mean, it seems that to me, it seems that he's got some good political ideas. Just maybe not used in the best way at this point. I also believe this isn't in my notes, but I also believe this is where he adopts a baby bear cub because the college won't let him have a dog.
Honestly, I have read that about him before. And yeah,
Yeah.
in the dorms.
From what I understand, it was like a trained circus bear, and it was little. It wasn't like ginormous, but a bear is a bear.
It was little. That sounds like the justification I had for having a mouse in the dorms.
Yeah, it was little. Yeah. Anyway, by 21, so it's like 1809, our guy has already had this slew of lovers and he has taken his seat in the House of Lords because remember, he is a lord. But he gets bored and he leaves for 2 years to tour Europe with Hobhouse. He visits Greece for the first time, and this is part of why I'm doing his story because he falls madly in love with both the people and the country of Greece. Like Greece is his thing. And he's learning languages like all over the place. Like he is one of those people that's like, well, if I'm going to be here, would you mind? And is just learning constantly, which I
Nice.
think is pretty cool, right? Um, but keep in mind, he is also having all of these passionate love affairs everywhere he goes with
That's how
just
you
about
learn.
anybody.
That's how you learn language. You got to
Yeah,
immerse yourself in the
full
people,
immersion.
culture, language.
People, they speak it. This includes the very problematic love of three sisters, all 15 and under, which I find to be completely appalling, but I guess the times are the times and they thought it was fabulous. Anyway, in 1812, he makes this stance and really compelling argument in Parliament on behalf of the Luddites. This is one of the first things he does right in his life. He is basically using his voice and his power for the right reasons. Basically, what's happening is these textile workers have been waging this war on the automated machines that are taking their jobs and threatening their way of life. So the quote unquote Luddites are destroying this machinery, and it's been a bit of a problem for a little bit. And Prime Minister Spencer Perceval, he's fighting for this bill that's going to make machine breaking a capital offense.
Got to protect the wealthy.
Right. But Byron, he openly opposes this and Percival's efforts, saying that the Luddites' recent acts of violence are, quote, the product of circumstances of the most unparalleled distress. This once honest and industrious body of people, Byron claims, had become miserable men driven by nothing but absolute want.
They're just trying to keep their jobs.
Like put food on their table, right? And you're not considering the fact that your automated machines are ruining 1,000 years of history here and ways of life for people for generations, right? So in his mind, he's already established what the Byronic hero looks like, and he's using that to help bolster their cause, which I think is pretty cool. So in his mind, the Byronic hero is a passionate contrarian who fights against the prevailing beliefs of society in true romantic spirit. And I love him. Um, in 1812, he also starts this little affair with this very passionate, very eccentric, and very married Lady Caroline Lamb.
Yep, here we
Everything about this is
go.
super scandalous,
This
right?
is the crazy ex that a lot of us had.
Right? Let me just give you this quote from the Poetry Foundation because I think it's literally perfect. He met the spirited, impulsive Lady Caroline Lamb, who initially judged him mad, bad, and dangerous to know. Their tempestuous affair lasted through the summer until Byron rejected her. She continued the pursuit, burned effigies of his picture, and transformed their relationship into a gothic romance in her novel Glenarvon in 1816. She is also the one that sent him the bloody pubes.
That's, honestly,
Gross.
I'm surprised that move didn't work. I mean, who among us hasn't done that one?
It literally gives me the shivers. I hate the idea. So anyway, he also at this time is running affairs with the Lady Oxford, also, I believe, Lady Lamb's mother-in-law, as well as the Lady Frances Webster, and also very probably with his own very married half-sister, Augusta Lee, with whom he has been writing passionate letters for years.
Who doesn't quite love him but will let him in her bed?
It seems that way.
Okay. I mean, choices. Carry on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So 1814 rolls around. It's been a bit of a scandalous year, and as if any of the years before weren't, but Augusta, his half-sister, gives birth to a daughter. Of course, the baby is given the surname of Lee after Augusta's husband, but gossip is gossip, and everybody believes the baby girl is in fact Byron's. Now, one of my sources, I don't have this in my notes, but one of my sources says this is the only child of his, if it was in fact his, that he did not claim. Like he he spoke for all of his illegitimate children except for this one.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if he just didn't say anything to keep it from being more scandalous or if he really believed it wasn't his. Unclear, but there you have it. Sources suggest that in an attempt to recover his reputation, he marries in 1815 this young woman called Annabella Milbank, with whom he would do his second right thing, and together they would have a daughter, a one Augusta Ada, or more well known as Ada Lovelace,
Yep,
who,
yep, yep.
for those of you playing at home, was a mathematician, writer, and very recognized as the first computer program for her work on Charles Babbage's analytical engine, which is pretty stinking cool. Like, she is the bridge that gaps,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
And honestly, probably his greatest contribution to the world.
In my opinion. Um, and then I'm only saying this next sentence for the scandal because it just makes me so happy. The couple would spend time in the home of the Duchess of Devonshire. I'm mentioning this for the girlies who love historic gossip because this woman is the second wife of the Duke. His first wife was Georgina, and there is a ton of scandal within this family as well. The point here to me is rich people make great gossip. She is also a friend of the Duchess de Polignac from episode 164.
Okay, there we go.
I love making those historical connections. I was like, wait, what? He knew the Duchess? Like, what?
He also knew Mary Shelley because we talked about him then.
Yeah. So back to the actual story, but because of literally everything that he has been up to the last couple of years, the couple separates shortly after Ada is born. Because he can't just be like a stay-at-home dad.
Because
He
he's
just
the
can't do it.
insane human who would get a pet bear when they deny him a dog.
Honestly, because really. Then comes the fated summer of 1816 when my guy flees England for a myriad of reasons, failed marriage, scandal, heaps of affairs, and debt being the main reason. And he goes to Lake Geneva, specifically Villa Diodati, with friends Percy B. Shelley and his wife Mary, and Mary's half-sister Claire Claremont, which is a really ridiculous name when you think about it.
I think she had something to do with renaming herself, and so she decided to be a William Williams.
Good for her. Byron had already started an affair with her while they were in London, and so when she arrives at Lake Geneva, he's like, "Oh, great," and so just kind of rekindles that affair. She later goes back to London to deliver their daughter, Allegra, in 1817. For all of you that are not Theresa and wonder why I call this the fated summer, this would be the summer that is rainy and cold, and as a means to pass some time, someone suggests a writing contest. From here, we get two of the most influential pieces of literature ever written, in my opinion. First is Teresa's favorite, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. And second
Yay.
is the precursor to my favorite, because also traveling with this very fashionable group is a young doctor called John Polidori, and he takes what Lord Byron has started and finishes it, creating one of the first popular vampire novels, simply titled The Vampire. And from there, about 70 years later, a man called Bram Stoker will use John Polidori's antagonist to give us Dracula. And for those of you that are playing at home, if you're curious, yes, that was my thesis work. Spent so many days of my life stuck in this book. From here, Byron travels to Italy where he continues on his Casanova pub crawl and has more illicit affairs.
I appreciate the Casanova prep call. That if it doesn't exist, and it probably shouldn't, lecherous as it would be, I kind of want it to.
I mean, stamp your ticket. um he has all of these illicit affairs. We have names like Marina Seghetti, his landlord's wife, and Margherita Cogni. She is the wife of a Venetian baker. And then in June of 1818, according to the Poetry Foundation, quote, early in June, Byron moves into the Palazzo. You know what? I didn't say this word out loud before.
Anyhow, he moves into a different place.
He moves into a Palazzo with his daughter Allegra, brought to Venice by the Shelleys. The Shelley party had come to visit him in April, and they brought his daughter with them, whom they had agreed to support and educate. So I'm confused, but because Claremont is still very much in the picture, but I am I have some sort of understanding that perhaps she wanted Byron to have some part in her daughter's life. So the Shelleys were like acting as the intermediary. So there you have it. He she's there. He's lodged with his 14 servants, a menagerie, and a veritable harem, and his daughter. By fall of 1818, his mother and thus the last living family had been dead for about 7 years. So the abbey is sold for 94,500 pounds.
What is that in today's money?
So here's the thing, and I've never had this problem before. It could be anywhere from 2 million to 65 million,
That's a,
depending on whatever
yeah.
calculator you used. I used three and got a different number each time.
Congrats on using more than one. I would have called it job well done at the first and moved on, but wow, that is
Yeah, it was weird.
mind-boggling.
Either way, it's a price, right? So this gives him his debts are clear, and it gives him this wonderful income with which to squander away. If you can't guess it, our guy is aged beyond his years, but that doesn't stop him from starting up an affair with the Countess Treccia Ganucci, who She's like 19 and married to some schmuck who's like almost 3 times her age, and our guy Byron at this time's like 32. These two become absolutely inseparable, and Byron moves in with her, which I have questions because she's married.
Yeah,
My guess is
that's
the husband's not around. That's my guess.
either physically or upstairs. He's just not present.
Yeah. It's during this. So, first of all, I think she's the one he actually, if he was going to love one person, it might have been her.
I feel like he loved everybody. That was the problem.
I mean to say, like, if he was going to be consistently, like, if he was going to,
Monogamous.
if he was going to hang up his pub crawl and settle down with one woman, it would have been her. At some point around this time, Byron sends his daughter away to be educated at a convent near Ravenna, and she dies there in April of 22. She's like 5.
Ugh,
Yeah. This does not sit well with Claire Claremont because why would it?
that's her baby.
Yeah. Now, later the same year, Byron also loses Shelley when his boat, the Don Juan, goes down at sea.
Yeah, and nothing is found, or his heart is calcified on at the funeral pyre.
Yeah. Um, Now remember when I had said his in his earlier travels he has this love for Greece, right? Well, he passionately supports the Greek war for independence from the Turks. And this might be the third thing he does right. In 1823, he leaves Genoa where he's been staying and he goes to Greece and he gets involved. He pays the equivalent of today of like 500,000 to refit the Greek fleet. And in December of that year, he takes command of this small fighting unit, which literally makes no sense to me because up to this point he has no military experience. But like, I guess if you're rich and upper class, you too can buy your own army.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have
Yeah.
to have the knowledge
They
if you've got the cash.
they've
It's all
got
in who
guys
you
for that.
know.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. His health takes a nosedive, and in February of 1824, he gets sick, he never recovers, and he dies April 19th. His body is brought back to England and buried at near his ancestral home in Nottinghamshire. Um, the other thing that he does right, in my opinion, which makes him pretty cool in my eyes, is that he is absolutely appalled at Lord Elgin's removal of the Parthenon marbles.
Good.
So much so that he openly writes about it and in verse. And if you're curious, you can read it. It's called The Curse of Minerva. But he was like, yo, that's not our job. Leave it there. That
Yeah,
belongs to them.
our job was not to take the marble
Hmm.
and then cut them in half and destroy them because it was too heavy for your boat.
Yeah, that's you, not yours. Smacking hands, put it back. Yeah, so that's the story. That is the very shortened, very summarized story of Lord Byron, the bad boy lover, and what some consider to be the first celebrity. There's so much I left out, but I'm a big fan of him openly being appalled to the Parthenon marbles removal.
I
Like,
mean, truly, I mean, I think honestly, Byron's one of those humans that we could have done if we were a seasonal podcast. We could have done, this is the season of Byron, where
oh,
Angie
for
will
sure.
regale Theresa with a blow by blow.
For sure. I mean, every source had so much information, and it was one of the few times that I can say, like, every source had so much information, and every source had different information. Like, maybe one just concentrated on his life through his poetry, and one concentrated on his life through the fact of, like, historic places, right? Like, so yeah, you could go for days and days and days, a whole season of Lord Byron, which feels like a lot.
Yeah, I feel like I am not Catholic, but would need confessional after every episode.
Yeah, in my opinion, yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, Dracula exists in part because of who he was. So
And
I
is
can't be
largely based
upset.
off his personality.
Pretty much, yeah. What's really fun is, have you ever read The Vampire?
I have not because like I got to Frankenstein and went, this is my jam, and then
Right.
locked
Okay.
on.
So fair. In the vampire, in my copy of it, I don't know if it sits in a different place in other copies, but my copy of it, there at the end is this. It's described as a letter that Paul Derry writes about Byron's home in Greece. And it's very fictional. It's not, it's like romanticized and all of the things, but it is kind of what Stoker looked at and was like, oh, this is how we make a gentleman vampire. Like this works. And even though it is pretty much an aside from the rest of the story of the vampire, that was my favorite part. And I have literally looked it up dozens of times. Are we sure this isn't true? Because I need this to be a true story.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Just that one letter. It's just a little letter. It's like 3 pages at the end of the book. It's so beautiful. Anyway, there you have it.
Well, this honestly was a wild pairing, which I expect from us.
Yeah, me too. It's weird when they're on the same train.
Yeah, that always makes me uncomfortable about the following week.
Hmm.
And if you are like, this was a wild pairing, Martha P. Johnson and Lord Byron in
Listen,
the
I
same
think Lord
sentence,
Byron would have loved Marsha P. Johnson.
I think that's probably true. Who didn't he love?
I mean, to be fair, from some of my sources, he loved women but was not great to them. So maybe it's I physically love you, but I emotionally don't.
He's a fuckboy.
Hmm. Through and through. Yeah.
And if you are a fuckboy, no, I'm joking. Um, Send this to somebody who is a fuckboy and you want to slowly, benignly call them out. And if they get to this point of the episode, ta-da, you did it. Congratulations. Uh,
Please write in and tell us how it went.
yeah, we'll put the email to contact us in the show notes. And on that note, goodbye.
Bye.